Hello, hello, hello. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Outside the Box, hosted by me, Sage DaCoach. And I am not a coach because I coach basketball or anything like that, but because I am a certified life and relationship coach. I have actually several certifications in life coaching and relationship coaching. And my show, Outside the Box, is to help people see that God is often bigger than our boxes. And so today, I have a special guest, Willie Johnson, with me tonight. Oh, I forgot. Let me back up a little bit. Please like and share this stream. So if you're watching, like and share, and make sure you ask comments. Willie will be answering questions if you guys have any questions about what he's talking about. But now let's move on to my special guest. So my special guest is Willie Johnson. He is also a life coach, and Willie, I will tell them that you are a life coach, but then the rest you can kind of introduce yourself a little bit and let everybody know what you do.
All right. Well, thank you, Stephanie. So obviously me and you, we talk, we do the podcast. So this was kind of nice to hey, you're doing outside the box and another opportunity to, give God any glory for what we do and to be in this space. So thank you so much. But like you said, yeah. So name's Willie Johnson. I'm a life coach, and my For a New Day is my life coaching brand. It's basically, I like to call it a lifestyle, right? It's not just a way of coaching. It's basically a lifestyle. It's a way of living, a way of becoming. So I kind of branded that over several years. But my background basically comes from hospitality, in professional hotel management, leading teams, coaching teams, developing teams, management teams, sales teams, operational. So a lot of my background has been in the service industry. So kind of transitioning into coaching was really interesting. It was just more of a naturalization of going from a corporate sector, I like to say, where I'm teaching and training and coaching people to, bring out the best in them, putting them in the right positions, trying to help them excel from a business standpoint, whereas life coaching is more of a personal, right? You're into people's lifestyles, what they do when they're not at work. So those type of things and how to help them excel in life as well as work. So For a New Day was kind of brought on through that, all with the foundation, though, of understanding that, God is that foundation that we need to build on, right? And so the For a New Day was more of a mindset to cultivate, to create that lifestyle, because change is happening, right? Every single day we're changing. Every day we get up, it's a new day. And so I kind of coined that For a New Day, because I would always say, hey, if there was a bad day and God gives me another day, I'm gonna take advantage of it. And 4 being a complete number is like a whole, like bringing that day together to create a new day and have an opportunity to do better and be better. So basically just cultivating that type of lifestyle. And if you have that mindset, you kind of raise your belief in what's possible and what you're able to do in life, in work, in your relationships, and your finances. I mean, it touches everything when that foundation is solid. I think we talked about that last week. Like just having that solid foundation really helps. So I love it. And it's one of those things where, if you are constantly trying to improve yourself, the best thing you can do is to give that to other people, right? To give that out to help other people try to create that type of, cultivate that type of design in their life. Because you're either going to design it, build it, or you're just going to end up, right? Because we're going to end up in 5 years. We always say, okay, in 5 years, we're going to end up somewhere. Either you try to design that and cultivate that by building that change, or you just show up. And I don't, and so a lot of times we look and we go, hey, we're here now because of what we've done in our past beliefs, our past understandings, so that's just kind of how we ended up to get here. So I know I probably went into a little more of the questions, but that's just a little bit of how, how this kind of got started. So I really love it. It's wonderful to be able to just be vulnerable and helping people through what things you've gone through in life, through the, challenges. Like I just had a family meeting coaching session at the table 20 minutes ago, so this is real life.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that comes with a lot of people who are coaches, because it's not like you take on coaching as a profession, just as something to get paid. It's like something that's already in you and you're already doing it anyway. And that title just kind of flows with what the type of person you already are. So like, even for me, I've been talking to people for years, I've been talking to family members, friends, strangers. I'm always giving people advice and encouraging them. And so coaching just came very, very natural to me. And so I kind of, agree with you on that it's like, it's a lifestyle. It's like who you are. It's not just like something, a hat you put on, and then in a few hours you take it off and that's it. So yeah, but so I know that and you guys may have heard Willie say that we know each other from another podcast, and actually me and Willie co-host a different podcast on another platform. And so that's kind of how our relationship has developed. And so if anybody is interested in learning more about that, you could just reach out to me and I will let you know. The podcast that we do is called Coach Talk, and we just talk about the different barriers that kind of restrict people from achieving their goals. And we do it from a kind of biblical foundation. And so that's about that. So, but Willie, I know like you talk a lot about change. And so, and even in what you were saying now is like, people want help to like change certain things in their lives, but they can use your coaching services to kind of help them walk through that change. What type of change would you pinpoint? Because I know you talked about like corporate training and things like that, but how do you help people personally when it comes to that change?
Well, so and when we talk about change, the very first thing, and again, just kind of going off of this conversation, literally just having it is we have to come to a truth, right? I mean, if there's no truth, there's no change. I mean, because we can't change if we're not being truthful. And I mean, being truthful as far as what we've done up to this point. Okay. And then where do we want to go? And being honest, like, because if you say, oh, I can just change, then you probably would already be doing it. And so what I coin is called building that bridge to change, so anytime you're starting to change something, what's the first thing you do, right? You have a foundation. Have to have a foundation. And for me, that foundation is a spiritual. I don't necessarily push that on through coaching, but as I was listening to something yesterday, it talked about if you're going to be trained in something, we tend to find trainers in every other angle of our lives, fitness, knowledge, everything outside of life itself, right? We don't, for some reason, we don't think we need a trainer in actual life. We just, we'll have a fitness trainer. I got a trainer for this, trainer for that, financial trainer, but pure life itself, where is that training coming from? And for me, that comes from God. That comes from the Word. That comes from understanding that living according to His principles, according to that lifestyle, is the best foundation we could have. So we take that, and then it's going, okay, so where do you want to go? The very first thing is, where do you want to go? What do you want to do with your life? And then you have to make that decision to act. Right, you have to decide to act, which is that first step, and that all comes in through a mindset. Because if we don't believe that we can do something, then we're not going to act on it. We're by nature, our mindsets are, we do things because we believe it's possible, right? I mean, if we didn't think that we could actually log on here and do this podcast on this line, we probably wouldn't even get on this line. We wouldn't even do this. So that's the first thing, is to believe that something is even possible. And to change that belief, you have to have someone, I believe, that can actually show you a different angle. We talked about this before where, okay, I might see things a certain way, but you come in and you might say, hey, Willie, let's look at it this way, right? Let's believe it in this sense, because belief is all perspective, right? So if we perceive something to not work, we won't even try it. So we got to almost, renew that mind, right? Like the Bible says, you have to have a renewed mind. Whatever we've done up to this point in our lives, we have to kind of not really erase that, because we can learn from it, but we have to be willing to put it down and go, okay, this is what I believed up to this point. But if I'm going to excel, if I'm going to build this bridge from where I'm at here now to where I want to go, I have to have a different belief. And then deciding to act on that belief. And to me, that's where that faith comes in. Because we don't necessarily see it, because we're doing something that we've never done before. So whenever you're doing something that you've never done before, there is going to be some form of faith. Whatever you believe, you got to have you got to have something, and faith without works is dead. So if you're going to believe that you can do it, then you need to act on that, right? So that's all part of that first step, is deciding to act. And now then from that point, it is going to be crucial, because we get excited, we make that decision, we're going to change. You know, they always joke about people signing up for the gym at the end of the year. January come, they go into the gym, they hitting it, they doing it, and then by March, half of those people gone.
It's over, yeah.
It's over. And so what happens is they believe that I can do this. They decided to act, so they signed up, paid the money, made that commitment. But then the second part is defining and finding your why. Because if you don't have a reason, a strong enough reason to do anything, I don't care what it is. Again, if we didn't have a reason for getting on this podcast to try to reach people, to help people, we probably wouldn't believe we could even do it. So that belief needs to now translate into a reason, and it needs to be a strong, unbreakable why. I mean, if you're looking to type of change that we talk about, that I like to coach on, I'm talking about lifestyle change. I'm talking about changing to have impact. I'm talking about changing to affect other people's lives.
So can you be like a little bit specific? Because I like to try to be specific, because people can get confused when there's like a lot of like options, and they're like, okay, exactly what are you talking about? Especially when we talk about applying biblical principles to your life. So can you be specific with the changes that you're talking about? So say like a change to, you know, I don't think you're not a like, what's your treatment person? So I'm just throwing this out there, but like, say if you want to stop drinking alcohol, or like, can you give some?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah. So the type of change I like to, you know, to start with is typically just changing for the better, for the best you. Because if you have a purpose, say your change is you want to become an entrepreneur, you want to start a business.
Okay.
You know, those are specific changes, but it all starts with you.
Okay.
In other words, I could have the best goals in the world, but if I don't change me, nothing's going to change.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, I could buy all the books, take all the classes. So the change needs to start with myself. So when I say change, I'm actually talking about creating that type of person that you need to become to achieve that goal, right? So if we take that type of change, that type of mindset, it really, I think we talked about this before, it really doesn't matter what we plug into that bridge. Because maybe at first I want to become fit, you know, I want to lose weight, or I want to become healthier than I am. So that's the change I'm seeking. So we can start with that. And so from there, we decide to act on that. So now it becomes, what is my reason for doing that? Because everybody says that's fun. Oh, let's sign up for the gym. Let's get healthy and get fitness. Well, by March, that feeling of, I call it that enthusiasm to commit to something, that burns off.
Exactly.
Right. That burns off when it's 5 a.m. and you like, I didn't go to bed. I don't feel like going to the gym. That enthusiasm is gone. So there's nothing that I call that why. There's nothing strong enough to pull you.
Exactly.
And when I say you need to have a strong, unbreakable why, there needs to be some serious things that are strong desires in your heart. For me, it's my family, you know, it's God, it's serving others. So whatever that is, that has to be something so strong when everything around you starts to break down. You know, when you don't feel like doing it. Yeah, you know, I talked about this yesterday. When everything around you and within you is telling you you can't, the only thing that's going to get you up is your why. You have a reason that I'm trying to get out of this situation. I'm trying to get healthy. I'm trying to do whatever I can to expand my life, because the way I'm, you know, living, eating, sleeping, that ain't gonna help me live another 50 years, you know. So
exactly. Let me back up a little bit, because you know you hitting on some important things. So the first thing, because like the why, of course, is very, very important, but it goes like, do you feel like when it comes to, because I thought something that you said was really, really important, and I think a lot of Christians actually underestimate the process of renewing your mind. So would you say that the why comes before you set out the process of renewing your mind, or that you find out your why along the process of renewing your mind? Like, how do you say?
It kind of falls into that same thing. I mean, I flip these around just depending on who I'm talking to. So if someone comes in and they kind of already know what they want to do, they kind of seem to have a why. They kind of seem to already be in that mindset to, hey, this is what I believe is possible. But someone that doesn't even know, they kind of go, God, I have this feeling, I have this thing that's tugging at me. I feel like I should be doing something. I should be doing more. They don't even know what it is. So for me, with that type of person, that is getting them to even commit to make that decision to act. Okay, you feel this way, so what are you going to do about it?
Exactly.
Right? You feel like something is pulling at you. I call it that change spirit, right? There's a change spirit in you that's telling you should be doing something, but because you don't see it, because you don't have A to Z details, you tend to go, I don't know. But if it keeps pulling at you, that is that. So that why can kind of go either way, like you're saying, before or after.
Okay.
But it is crucial because, again, when everything starts to break down around you, when those roadblocks come, when the criticism comes,
the why.
When the people talking about what you doing, what, or you want to start what, or when all that stuff starts to come, that why is the one thing that's going to get you up each morning, right? It's going to push you to action.
Yeah.
Because if it's not strong enough, what happens is we like I say, we start out, we're excited, we want to do it. Then the criticism comes, or what we thought was going to happen didn't happen. And then what we do, we fall back. That wasn't it. I don't have a strong enough reason to make me continue on. Right? I don't have a strong enough reason to make me get up, to endure the criticism, to endure the setbacks, the disappointments. I don't have nothing strong enough to hold that on. And for me, like I say, if it, your family, God, want to better other people's lives, that something in you that, pulling you, that makes you want to get up and do that. So once you have that kind of why, you have that belief that you can do this. Now I say you need to make that commitment to yourself. Right. So now comes the commitment. Now comes the commitment to yourself, not to your friend, not to the Facebook group or your family, like, because everybody gets excited. Yeah, we're going to change, or I'm gonna lose weight. I'm gonna get healthy. It's exciting when everybody's doing it, but in the morning when it's just you, or at night when you kind of question it, it needs to come down to that commitment that you make with yourself, because at the end of the day, we are our only competition. In other words, if I say I want to change to be a better person, to be better in my relationships, to be better in my marriage with my children, that all starts with me. That is 100% on me. I can't look to what happened at work, or look to what happened at the grocery store. I can't bring all that into it and go, well, I didn't do that because this happened. That commitment needs to be 100% me. So when I look at myself and say, okay, what did I do? Did I step into doing better? Did I commit to making myself better? And it's just a A and B conversation with myself. It's not a thing where I bring in other people, but it starts with me. So once you can make that commitment to yourself, now you layer in those disciplines, right? You layer in the disciplines. So we talked about this before. So if I want to become healthy and fit, what do healthy and fit people do?
Okay, so let's pull back a little bit, because you like on a roll. So so this to me is kind of connected to what you were saying about faith without works is dead, which I think is a very, very important thing, because this is a lot of things that I think a lot of Christians miss too. So what is your understanding like as far as like putting in those action steps as it relates to the biblical principle of faith without works is dead? Because you have a lot of people who have faith and they believe stuff and they even pray for stuff, but they don't actually put the work in. So can you kind of go into that and explain it a little bit, like what that means as far as action steps and faith without works is dead?
So, and I'm just, going off of how I approach it, and it's a really wholehearted trust, right? And trust in what God has given me to do. Now, everything that someone goes to change may not be that deep of a level where it's like, hey, God might not be moving me to do, X, Y, Z. But at the same time, there has to be something that you stretch for that's beyond yourself, right? That's something that I don't necessarily see. So say it's being fit, right? So creating that type of lifestyle, we can see people that do it and do it at a high level, right? So your faith is not necessarily in that person. Your faith is that, hey, I see that someone did it. I don't care who it is. It could be one person. We're not doing anything brand new, right? So if you're doing something of a change where it's trying to become a certain way, or a business entrepreneur, start your own company, whatever it is, someone has done it. So your faith has to be that I know that someone has done it. Right. I got to latch on that. I got to, and so I have to be able to have faith to act that if it's for me to do that, I already know that someone's done it. So I can take that action in faith and believe that someone's already did it. I can do that. That's that one way. Now, the other way is if you're doing something that is if you're trying to change and you don't necessarily know what that is, if you're trying to lead people, coach people, inspire, mentor people, whatever that is, that for me is more of a God sent. That's more of a something that God is pulling you in. So that's where your whole heart has to be leaning on that relationship that you built with God and trusting that, you know what, I'm gonna step out of this boat on God's faith that this is where he's guiding me. This is where he's leading me. So you kind of have two different ways to go, but each of them takes action. Each of them takes doing something that you either you may not see it and you act, or you may see it, but it's not you, but you have faith to believe that you can do those same things.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. So like even with, me a lot of the times, and I hear this like a little bit too often when it comes to Christians, is that we don't fully understand some of the times. And of course, not everybody, the role that we play in bringing those things to pass. And so it's like, yeah, you can have faith in something and God can be guiding you, and it could even be meant for you to do that thing. But if we don't do our part as far as like planning and making steps and working towards it, which is basically what it boils down to, is working towards it, then those things cannot come to pass. And so God is not, created us to be puppets and we just do everything and then we just pray and that's okay, because like he gave us a mind, he gave us arms and legs, he gave us the ability to do things. And so our part is to not only to see his role in our life, but to partner with him with the role that we have for our life. And that is, action is absolutely necessary. Like you can't really get around that. And so I like that you were like really emphasizing that even with, the Christian foundation of what you're doing, that we have to take action steps. Like it's really, really important. So
Right. We can't, we have to, it's almost like we have to have that mentality. I have to fight for this because I believe this.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like they say, like to have the faith, childlike faith, right? Because a kid, I have an 8-year-old. It's amazing what she believes. She believes in some stuff that you just like, wow, but as we get older, we start to realize certain things are true. But I think Bible speaks that have a childlike faith. So if I believe in something so true that I'm going to take action towards it as if it's actually happening, whether I see it or not, whether I see the results or not, right? So it's not necessarily that, I start off on this journey to become healthy and I go to work out a few times and nothing happened, so that's not faith. That's you just looking for a result. The faith is I'm going to keep doing this because I know it's going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it's like, if you have that certainty that it's going to happen, that is definitely motivation to keep going. It's not like, well, I don't know if this is going to happen, but I'm just hoping. But if you have that certainty, like, wow, it's like, all I have to do is keep reaching out my hand and I'm going to get it. So let me just keep doing that. And I think that's really important, even, which I'm thinking right now as we're talking, there's a difference between hope and faith. And I think a lot of people mix hope and faith up together, and they think that when they're hoping for something, they're actually having faith in it, but they're not. They're just hoping.
Right.
So what is your, how do you separate the difference between having hope and having faith?
So you're 100% right. So the way I look at it is the hope is the part where you don't want to do anything, but you hope something happen. right? I'm a pray. I'm a pray, but I say this all the time. You pray as if God's going to do everything, but you work as if you in control everything. You can't just. So the hope is you just hoping that it happens. You really don't believe it's going to happen. You just hope it happens. Now the faith is the person that takes that hope and says, okay, I understand that I want to hope for this, but I got to move towards it, right? I got to step out of that boat, and I got to believe that if I step out that boat, he's gonna be there. He's gonna take my hand. The hope is like, I don't know, I'm gonna step out of this boat, but I'm gonna look down at the same time.
And make sure,
right, make sure, sure. So that hope is kind of like, we really, I hope this is okay, but you really don't believe it's okay.
It's like a baby step of faith. Like, you start off hoping, but at some point when faith comes, there's a certainty. It's not like, oh, well, I hope and I wonder and I wish, but it's like what you said, like, no, this is going to happen. Like, you know.
Right. And it's almost like I was just having this conversation with my daughter. She's like, she's applying for jobs, right? Or I hope no. I said, if you keep applying for the jobs, you are going to have to come up with some sort of faith that if I keep doing this thing, something's going to happen, right?
Exactly.
If I keep going to work out, if I keep eating healthy, I have to have faith that something's going to change. It's not no longer hope, because I'm actually doing it as if it's going to happen, as if it's going to become. Right? So that for me is the difference. The hope is kind of like you're just sitting and waiting. So it's like you're praying, you're doing it. And people say, I'm praying, I prayed on it. I said, yeah, but what did you do? Well, I didn't know what to do. Okay, do something. Do something. Exactly. Right.
Well, I mean, and even when you go to like the whole idea of faith without works is dead. Dead is like, it's not moving. It's not doing anything. It's dead. Like, you're not progressing. And so if you really, really believe something, you're going to put action to it. Like, if you're not putting action to it, you don't believe it as much as you think or say you do, because if you really, really did, the action will follow. And so that makes what you're doing come alive, so to speak, in a contrast of like being dead, because you're not just sitting there. You're not doing anything. There's no progression, but you're actually moving towards something. So faith is like the motivation to put things into action and actually bring life to it. Bring your life, bring your dreams to pass, bring your hopes to pass, and everything like that. And so,
and it grows to that point. So I don't want the perception to be that all I do is lock in and say, okay, I got faith, and I'm good. No, it's an everyday thing, maybe a multiple time day thing, right? So this isn't something you lock in and say, okay, I got faith. I got it. It's every single day, because that faith can go like this, and then that faith can go like that, right? So it can drop and go, but it must be consistent, because everything's not going to work out, right? Every action you take is not going to produce the result we want, right? Every step we make in that change to do better, whatever we're going towards, is not always going to work out. So we must constantly feed that faith. And the way we feed that faith is through the word of God, to believe, because he's going to keep telling you in his word. It's no matter what it is in life, there's always something that you can find to reference that point that you're going through. So there's your faith. So it's like you say, renew that faith, right? Every day, renew that faith. I have faith on Monday, but sometime by Wednesday, you like, oh, right? So renew that faith every single day, and it grows and it strengthens, and it's something you have to pray for. Pray for God to just continue to give me this strength, because it's not always going to be easy, and nothing of change is easy. If it was, everybody would just do it, and we'd be like, okay, what's next? But it's not. So that faith is kind of that foundation to kind of continue, like you said, to feed that motivation, to feed that inspiration. You feed it through faith, and as that faith grows, so comes that confidence and that competency, right? So that's part of that, that step of commitment with discipline, faith, habits, creating these things that you do on a daily basis that is going to push you towards that bridge, that's going to push you towards whatever that marker is that you're trying to hit. Maybe, and as you do that, what happens is this becomes a process that you must, I say, fall in love with the process. Don't worry so much about the result. The faith is going to take care of that. That's going to take care of itself. But you must become committed to the process
Mm-hmm.
every single day, even when the days don't look good, even when that setback comes. I was just writing about this morning. We have a tendency to compare a lot, right? We just by nature, everything in social media is always a comparison. So what might be better, we think that we're doing bad because we don't necessarily see something. In actuality, better is just a perception that we base on other things, right? I see
Right.
someone do this and then I go, oh, I didn't do it like that. So all of a sudden I think I'm not doing better. In actuality, that better is based on that purpose that I'm doing. What am I trying to do? So I can't necessarily compare that to anybody else.
Okay.
So
I think that's a really good point. And like I'm trying to remember because you said something before that I wanted to explain. Okay, so let me write this down so I don't forget. um, so when you were talking about the steps in the process and commitment, like how does your coaching work with that? Like how do you help people through some of the process that you have just explained, like knowing your why and being committed and stuff like that? How can a life coach help somebody do that process, and specifically your life coaching?
So for me, I'm big on this. Matter of fact, I got it sitting right here. So this is a journal, right? So something about writing stuff down, right? Writing stuff down is so huge because everything we do is like this on the phone. We text in there, but there's something about physically getting something on paper. So I start off. It's almost like a daily balance sheet, right? So daily, what are we? What is our, where are we at mindset wise? And for me, that day starts with gratitude. So for whatever it is, because that's that final step is in execution is gratitude. So no matter what, good, bad, not a good day, not whatever it is, if you had a day, if you had life for that day to do what you set out to do, whether it ended up the way you wanted, you should have gratitude for that. You should be thankful just for be able to do the process, right? So for me, that journaling is where you start off with that. You write out, what you're grateful for. Then you write out, how are you coming into this day, right? What is your mindset like? Because every day we wake up, it's not always the same mindset. I mean, we life coaches, but we have lives, right? We have days that aren't, I tell her all the time, my wife said to me, that don't sound very life coachy, right? Because some days that life coach don't, we're human. We're not perfect by any means. And we're not trying to be. It's just, we understand that this is a daily thing. So for me, that journaling, getting down how your mindset is every day, what's coming up for you on the inside is, like I like to say, what's coming up for you? How do you feel? All right. And then the second part of that is, how do you want to show up today? Right? How do you want to show up today? Whatever happened yesterday is yesterday, but how do you want to show up today? And then as far as the actions, write out what are the top 4 things you need to get done. I don't care what it is. What are the top 4 things that you need to get done that are going to take you towards that marker, right? That are going to move you towards that marker. So what are those top 4 things you need to get done? We write those down, right? We write those down and then we commit to those in that day. And I like to stick with 4 just because a lot of times we go into our days and we have 25 things that we need to get done, right? We have families, we got jobs, but what are those 4 things that you are committed to for your growth, for your change? I don't care what they are. They could be as simple as, I don't know, write in my journal. It could be as simple as that, or it could be as simple as sign up for a class, or go for a run, or go for a walk, or whatever it is. Just give yourself 4 things. And then at the end of the day, the final step in that is a reflection. So this is part of this day. This journal carries you from the morning. What are your action steps? What are your things that you're going to do to reach those markers on that bridge?
And this is what you do with your clients?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is, and again, this is what I like to say. This is that commitment to you. This is, you have to put skin in the game. I can't be there to make you write these things out. But when you come and you say, oh, how did it go this week? Well, I didn't get this done. I didn't get that done. I didn't have time. Then I go, okay, well, what was your days like? Did you write out, what did you get done that day? Oh, I didn't write it out. I just, so that's going to happen. So, but when you make that commitment to yourself, you can't be too critical of yourself, right?
Mm.
a hard time being critical of ourselves. I say, okay, that's okay. You didn't get it done today. Don't give up just because you
Exactly.
missed it for a couple of days. Don't give up. Hop right back in there on Monday,
Mm-hmm.
right? Hop back in there on Monday. Start it out, write out. But at the end of the day, reflect. And when I say reflect, that means, okay, where did I learn today? Where did I grow in? What gratitude did I show today? These are things that we must continue to become a habit. This is a lifestyle. So if you do something long enough and it's effective, you'll continue to do it. And so you have to figure out what adjusts for you. Like we talked about this before. Maybe you do a lot of this stuff in the evening. That's fine. You just do it. I don't care when it is. Just make the commitment to yourself to do it. Make sure you reflect on it. Some people do well by, I call it like having a mind dump, where they might need to take all these things that they need to do and put them on paper and just keep a sheet here and maybe pull 2 or 3 of those things a day over to get them done. And if you don't get it done, roll it over. Don't go, I didn't do it, so I'm just going to forget about it. No, roll it over. You commit to yourself and then check it off when it's done. Something about writing something down, committing to it, getting it done, and checking it off. That it's like a dopamine for our minds. We feel like good. We're like, hey, I got that done.
Yeah.
We want more of that.
Right.
We want more of that. So a lot of this is coaching to where I'm just a guide. This is work that the individual does. There's no magic tricks. There's no shortcuts. This is you becoming the person that you say you want to become, and you have to do the work.
So it sounds like a lot of it sounds like just accountability, like for you to have somebody, well, like encouragement and accountability, because like you said, when you set out to do something, you're going to always have pushback, whether it's from family or friends or life or, different challenges. You might have to restructure your time and things like that. So you will always have pushback. So the one thing that it sounds like is like encouragement to keep pushing when you get that pushback. And then another thing it sounds like is just being accountable to somebody, because if you mess, like you don't do it today, you don't do it tomorrow, like it's one thing to like say to yourself like, oh, well, I didn't do it, I'll do it later. But another thing for you to have to keep coming back to your coach and say, I didn't do it again. And I didn't do it again. And I didn't do it again. Say like it's much more different when you have somebody on the outside kind of hold you accountable. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's like I'm just, I like to say a coach is like someone that's going to hold a mirror for you, and you just tell them what you did. If you didn't do it, you need to answer to yourself. That's why when you hold yourself accountable, it's definitely becomes to that point where you're telling yourself, hey, you didn't do it, right? No one else's fault. This is you. You have to become so disciplined in something that you are okay with. I like to say you should be harder on yourself than anyone else. And that's okay, right? That's okay. If we get frustrated, because that frustration, it kind of fuels that inspiration to do better, right? It's like, okay, I didn't do it today, but I'm gonna get it better. And as a coach, it's just that encouragement. It's being encouraging to say, look, I'm here to help you. It's not a judgment thing. It's a judge-free zone. No egos here. Right? No, I'm better than you. It's like, hey, I want to see you do that, and you told me you wanted to do this.
Right. I'm just here to help you do what you already want to do. Yeah.
Right. And as you do it, like you say, I get people that get, you get excited because you see when you commit to something, that discipline, those habits, you start to see that, because that confidence builds. I think we talked about this before. You may not even really know how to do something, but if you commit to trying, you're going to get better at it. And now you start to get competent, right? And once that confidence comes, that confidence will build. Now, I like to say, hey, you want to get to the point where you don't need the alarm clock, right? You want to get to the point where get up because there's something in you that that you have faith that you can do it. You have someone guiding you through that process, and they're working that with you. I tell you, hey, if you want to get up at 4:30 in the morning, I'll get up with you. I'm already getting up anyway. So if you need someone to be that accountability partner with you, that's what we do. Sometimes it's just a matter of letting a person reflect on what they did and didn't do, and saying, okay, no judgment. You didn't do that. That didn't happen. Who cares? You have another day. What are you going to do about it?
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
What are you going to do about it? Because there there's no can't. It's just a matter of what am I going to try. Someone tell me, oh, I tried. No one's tried everything. I think we talked about this before. Anybody that says never, never or always,
Yes. I say talking in absolutes. Like if talking in absolutes is it's not rooted in reality because nothing is absolute in our reality. We have so many variables and so
right,
many things that we can try and do. So when you start saying stuff like talking absolute, this is always like this or this is never like
never
this,
going to
like,
happen. Yeah.
you need to pull yourself back to reality because that is not true. Like that's not even possible to be true. So
Right,
yeah.
right. So that's, and again, having that person with you to guide you through that, because like I said, that's that last step, is that, that execution is attainment, and being okay with that result. Like I say, it's about attaining this, and it's about being grateful.
Mm.
Right. There's so much I think that we miss when it comes to gratitude, of just like I say, having the opportunity to try something. Right. I mean, if you have your health, if you got up and you're in your right mind, if you have the ability to try something to change, you have every right. You need to be grateful just for that opportunity,
Exactly.
whether it was wonderful. Like I talked about this today. I was telling my wife, I was like, I'm, doing this 100-mile challenge, this run. And I did not, like, everything that could have wanted me to not do it. It was in me today. Right. Knee was hurting. It was hot. I was finding all this other stuff to do to run. But once I started off on that run, I was so grateful. Right. I was like, look, I'm actually able to get up and go run. Right. How can I be ungrateful for that? Like, so how I attain that gratitude so much that when things get to that point that you're looking for, you're just forever grateful. It's like you just start to take it all in. Great things start to happen. And I truly believe that mindset of gratitude, having that attitude of gratitude, it attracts things, right?
Yeah, and so something that kind of comes to my mind where you're saying that is I've been experiencing like a few people kind of letting me know that friends and family have died close to them recently.
Mm-hmm.
I would say a handful of people. And one thing about death, although it's of course very heartbreaking and sad, is that it really puts life in perspective.
100%.
So if you are, some people didn't wake up today, some people didn't are not going to wake up
Right.
tomorrow. And so that really helps you put that whole idea of gratitude in perspective, because if you're alive and you have your breath and you have your strength and you can do things, you should definitely be grateful and use opportunities to do that, because there are so many people who don't have it, whose time is over. So I totally agree with that. To be grateful is motivating. It should
Right.
help you kind of push towards the things that you want to do.
Right.
Another thing that you said that I think is really key is like all this process of getting up and doing this and trying again if you fall. And I asked you this question earlier about renewing your mind. Like, this is actually the process of renewing your mind. It's a very
Mm-hmm.
essential part of that process. And one thing that that a lot of people I think miss about the Bible, and especially Christians, is that they just look at it like it's a bunch of rules and things like that they have to abide by and stuff. But there's actually a lot of wisdom in the Bible, because they
100%.
didn't have psychologists and all the information that we have now. But somebody wrote in there, renew your mind. Like this, we're still doing this every day. Like we have to do this every day. This is the process that everybody has to go through to be a better person, to reach their goals and things like that. And even, faith without works. It's
Right.
basically like you have to believe in something if you really want to see and put action to it if you want it to come to pass.
Correct.
And so all these things in the Bible that sometimes maybe not taken for granted or taken seriously are even things people that are life coaches like us that don't use the Bible, they still emphasize these things in their coaching too. And so
Right.
it's really important to understand like that this is part of the process that the Bible talks about. This is renewing your mind, breaking your habits, setting your goals, like learning new things to get rid of kind of old things that are not really serving your purpose of where you want to get to. And
Right.
so yeah, I just wanted to point that out.
No, and that's you're absolutely right. Like obviously the book of Proverbs is the most known for wisdom. So that wisdom, King Solomon, he asked for that wisdom above all things. Right? He could have anything he wanted. Yeah, he asked God for wisdom. So if you think about it, the wisdom is just an understanding to how to live right, to how to live in from a biblical or non-biblical standpoint. That's just everybody.
Exactly.
Right? How to live right, how to be effective in living.
Exactly.
Because there's a purpose for everything. What does
Yeah.
it say? Everything has a purpose, has a season, has a reason. Everything has a purpose. So this is a guide more along the lines of how to live right, how to find that purpose. So going through this process of this change that I like to coach on is you sometimes have people that will discover that as they go through. Because a lot of times that why is your passion, right? Sometimes that why, that thing that you want to do is a passion, and now it starts to develop into a purpose. Now once you strengthen that and you have a purpose behind it, you don't need all those other things. You don't need all those extra, you don't need to watch 100 different motivational videos, read 100 books, because the wisdom, if you apply that wisdom to what you're doing, it's already there for you. God will already provide that wisdom. When he said, if you ask for that wisdom, he'll give it to you. But you got to come to him. You got to have the faith that A, that he can guide you to whatever you're trying to get to, and B, that he has the wisdom to take you there. So you just have to request that wisdom. Again, attaining all that, whether it be wisdom, knowledge, understanding, all that is a part of attainment. No matter what. So if something, again, didn't work out, we have to attain it with that same gratitude as if it did. Okay, that's okay. Thank you, Lord. I got another day. I'm going to try this now. Right? Exactly. I'm going to try this now. Okay, that might work out. Thank you. Okay, now I got that confidence and that faith and belief. Now I'm going to try this now. It's living almost purposefully, right? It's being intentional, being deliberate, being purposeful in everything. That is the key, because otherwise you get distracted. We lose focus. We start looking at what everybody else is doing. We start looking at what they said or what they did, and we lose focus.
Yeah, and so that kind of brings me to something else I wanted to point out, because you were talking about people comparing themselves to other people. Can you kind of explain a little bit, like, the problem with that? I mean, I'm pretty much general. People can kind of figure out what the problem with that is, but we want to hear from a life coach's perspective. So, how do you see, like, because I mean, I think that that's probably a little bit more of an issue now with social media than it may be
100%.
before. Yeah, especially with the youth that is growing up with this, because we didn't grow up with social media, so we're a little bit disconnected from it. Right. I mean, not as influenced by it as younger people, but they see all this stuff. And, I've even heard people my age say, oh, Sally down the street looks like she has a great life, and then they feel bad about their life. So can you talk a little bit about, like, the comparing yourself, and why that's not necessarily a way that you should judge your own own walk? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I was saying about the better. We tend to be so critical of ourselves because we're looking at the better of what someone is showing us. And we have to understand, I know it sounds simple to understand, but they only showing us the better.
Right.
They only Sally down the street only showing us the better. Only showing us the nice house, the nice cars, but what's going on inside the house?
Exactly.
Right? What's going on inside the house? It might not be as better as you think it is.
Right. Or what happened before they got the house.
Right. So we only look, I call it, we surface everything. We're looking at the surface, but who is that person inside? I said, let's not just go off of what looks to be better. Right. So that's where we get distracted in looking at someone's better. And then we start to take that and be critical on ourselves and go, okay, well, man, I don't have that much saved, or I didn't do this. And now all of a sudden we lose focus, right? Because now we're comparing that betterment to ourselves, and now we lose perspective. That better might be, like you said, we don't know what they did to get there. We don't know how many years it took. We don't know what goes on inside of the house. It might look better, but they might not be a better person.
Exactly.
Not everything that looks good is gold, right? So
right.
It don't mean that. And not everyone that looks like they're doing well is actually doing well.
Exactly.
So the Bible talks a lot about that. We get so confused because we see something that looks great, but it's not really that great. The one that might not have as much is probably the happiest person.
Exactly.
because they know who they are. They know they got a purpose, and that purpose isn't always to be flashy and glittery and have all the toys and everything in the world. It could just be that person is happy with their family. They're living purposefully. You know, they have wisdom. They understand. You know, salvation is key.
Mm-hmm.
They might have all that. So when we start to compare that betterment, it's a perspective, and also that betterment is being better is what is our purpose? What are we trying to do? Because now God has given each and one of us gifts and abilities and talents. There's a purpose for us. So when we lose focus because we're looking at someone else, we take away that focus on what are we supposed to be doing.
Exactly.
Because we're looking at everything else and we say, man, I wish I could sing like that. Or if I
Yeah,
could,
yeah.
maybe singing not for you, right?
Yeah.
Singing, that might not be for you. So what is your gift? What is your ability? And when you take away from that, you're actually cheating yourself.
Exactly.
Right. So we lose that. So the idea is to stop focusing so much. I just had this conversation with my daughter. Stop focusing on what everybody's doing on social media. Stop looking, what is your gifts? What is your ability? I see what God's blessed you with. So you just worry about that. You focus on that. You find it. You define it. You mastering it. And you will find your purpose in that. And that's how you have an impact, because now you are impacting yourself because you know who you are. You living in your truth. Right? You're living in your truth and your purpose. And now you can help other people.
Exactly.
You
And
know?
I mean, even when it comes to like other people on the surface, what it might looks like you were saying, you don't know what's going on behind. And actually, what it would take for you to know what's going on behind is like really none of your business. So you might as well just
Distraction.
focus. Exactly. Just focus on yourself, because you don't know, you can't know unless you're just really going to get in somebody else's business and be nosy. So why not just use all that energy? Because we only have so much brain power, you know, that we can use in a day or in a lifetime or whatever. So like what you're saying, don't be distracted by that. Just focus on where you're at and what you're doing, because what they're doing is not really going to add to what you're doing anyway. So just focus on what you have in front of you and not so much look at what other people are doing. And I feel sorry for like a lot of the younger people that I struggle with that. But it's definitely something that's, you know, we need to kind of emphasize and really help in this new social media world, that, you know, stop looking at the surface of things.
Yeah, it's not always truth, right? It's not always truth. What we see is not always truth. And you know, once a person has their truth, they don't need to look at anybody else, right? When you have your truth, when you're authentic with who you are, when you understand who you're supposed to be, you have your truth. Then so you could look at those other things and they just look at them for what they are. Hey, someone's doing well. Hey, good for you. Hey,
Exactly.
I'm not upset at all. God bless you, right? I tell them, God
Exactly.
bless you. That's great. Hey, check this out. Because I know my truth,
Yeah.
and whatever God has for me is for me. So it's not going to matter what you do or how you do it. It's for me to find my truth and to live in my truth. And that's about it.
Yeah. So we have some few comments here that I want to read, and I have one last question for you, and then we
Okay.
will wrap this up. Jason and Meg have been on here blowing up the chats, talking about a lot of stuff. Meg, she said this a little while back, but she said it takes time to realize it, but once you truly identify your faults within, you are able to take off. Being able to motivate yourself is everything. Jason says, you know, keep pushing forward. In the end, that's all we can do. And when you define yourself for yourself based upon what the Lord has blessed you with, you know, that's the way to, you know, move forward. And so we have a lot of feedback here from them coming in. Nobody has asked any questions yet. So I will ask you a question. So I posted, you know, whenever I do my shows on Monday, I kind of post questions that are relevant to the topic for the day. And one of the questions that I asked people was, what is one thing you would want to change about your life? Not other people, but one thing you want to change about your life if you can change it. And a lot of people reference past mistakes. Like they wish they hadn't done this in the past, or they wish they hadn't done that in the past. So how would you, is there any advice that you gave that you would slightly change for people who are not necessarily, because a lot of stuff we're talking about is like moving forward. So what would you think, I mean, how would you say to people who want to kind of gravitate away from a previous bad decision that they have made? Like, do you see any
Right.
difference in that, or do you think it's the same, or what?
Well, no. So there is a self judgment that unfortunately a lot of people can't let go of. And what ends up happening is they stay stuck in that, right? I like to say, lightly, it's a rear view mirror for a reason, right? You just look it, but you're going for it. And what we learn from our past, right? So we can't discount it, we can't reflect it. No one's saying that you you're never going to forget it, right? It's there for a reason. I truly believe that whatever that past situation was that you got out of, because if we're talking about today and we're changing, God has blessed you to move past whatever it is. Now, if you keep going back, because his mercy is already forgiven for whatever whether it be a sin or whether it be a mistake, whatever it is, you've been forgiven because you're still here. Right. So we need to reach back and look at it for what it is and bring out a lesson from that. Okay, this happened. I made this mistake in these relationships. Okay, so let's use that and let's work forward. Because if we keep that same mindset, we'll keep making that same mistake. Right. That's the definition of insanity. We keep doing the same thing because we keep looking at it the same way. Oh, I'll never save money because I do this. Okay, so what happened that made you believe that? And let's change that mindset around it, right? It's never going to forget it, right? We've all made mistakes. I made mistakes, but I look at those and go, okay, those were lessons that I need to learn from, where it goes back to that wisdom, right? That wisdom. I need to ask God, how do I learn from this? How do I learn so I don't make that same mistake again?
Exactly.
Right. So that's you wanting to grow from that, not using it as an excuse, because a lot of times we'll use that. Well, this always happens. Like you said, here we go with the always and a never. This always happens. So now we don't even want to try it. Right. So stop using that as an excuse and learn from it. Because I either say you're going to learn, you're going to survive, or you're going to grow. So one of those two things, if you still living, you got to take that path for one of those three things. Learn, survive, or you grow from it. One of those things.
Yeah.
So
wow. So this, of course, this conversation could go on and on because there are so many different aspects that, especially when people get into specifics about what they're going through. This conversation is really endless because it's about life. It's not just about, money, like what you're saying, career, things like that. This is about life. And you will use these things over and over again. And so one thing that I have Elijah here who just asked me, do we get a life coach quote for the night? Because sometimes I like to do a life coach tip. And one thing that you said that I kind of want to point out as far as a life coach tip is like these things in life come. And I had a guest last week who talked about this a little bit more, Dr. Reverend James Tan, that life comes in seed form. And so we have to grow anything that we want to achieve, whether it's confidence, whether it's goals, because like you can have confidence in one area, but that doesn't mean you don't need to grow your confidence in another area.
Right.
And so we really have to understand that it's our job, our role in this thing. Like God is our God and he's given us the mind in the world and all that. But our role in here is to take the seeds that he's given us and to grow them. And, we grow them by putting action to them, by, like even Meg talked about understanding your faults. And even you talked about in the past, learning your lessons. And so all those things kind of play into growing the seeds that we all have within us. And so, but before we go, I would like for you to let people know where they can contact you at. I know you're on Facebook. I think you're on YouTube. I'm not sure. I know you're on TikTok because I see all So let people know where you're at, where they can contact you and things like that.
Okay. Yeah. So on Facebook, it's Willie Johnson. And then I have @For a New Day also on Facebook. And yes, I have Willie WJ_coach mentor on TikTok. And then my email is the easiest way. It's just Willie, WILLIE @4anewday.com. So Willie @4anewday.com is the easiest way. People would email me. I prefer email. It's great communication way. So that's the way you can reach me anytime. Okay. And I did have I thought you said something about a quote. So
Go
this
ahead.
one kind of generalizes everything, kind of what we talked about, so, this belief starts in our mindset, right? So that's where everything starts. So you have to have that belief in that mindset to change. And once you change your mindset, you will change. And once you change, your life will change.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So it all starts from that mindset of belief to change you first. Because again, nothing's going to change outside of you if you don't change. Because perspective is all included.
All right. So Elijah asked, was he going to get a life coach quote for the night? You got 2, Elijah. So you got more for your money. So yeah. It was great talking to you, Willie, as always. And thank you for coming on the show and during the interview.
My
you
pleasure.
guys, please reach out to Willie if you want to know more about what he does and then, take advantage of his coaching services. Other than that, you guys be great and have a good night and tune in. I think I have a special show this week, but I'm not sure yet. But make sure you tune in next week for another show. I'm going to have an author on, and it's going to be a good conversation just like today. So thank you so much. Have a good night. And I will also put Willie's links in the comment chat if anybody wants them from there. So that's it. Okay. All right. Have a good night.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.